Joining us from New York City is Denise, who's a performance coach to professional athletes and Wall Street hedge fund managers who wish to reach their full potential in high-pressure situations. All right, Denise, let's bring her on. Tell us a little bit more about what exactly you do.
Thank you, Mandy. I help people get better at what they do through understanding their confidence or their fears or their frustrations, really working with that mental or psychological side of their job, and the fact that Wall Street guys or sports guys, that it's always about the risk and the unknown. And so how confident you are or aren't becomes like a data set that you can work with in an organizer.
What's that process like with your clients who are athletes? For example, how do you determine the reason behind their slump?
Well, slumps are one of the things that our method happens to be particularly good at. The typical thing for like a mental skills person to do with a slump, we say, put it behind you. But we learned through the traders and now with athletes that the best thing people can do is go back to when it started, which is usually what they're not at all inclined to do. But to think back, like how it got started, and there usually will be some regret, like they know they made a serious mistake and they let their team down or they let themselves down. And they can kind of forget everything between when it first got started. And I don't care how long the slump's gone on. I once worked with a hedge fund manager, believe it or not, the slump had gone on for 10 years and we managed to keep jobs. When you go back to the beginning and like work through those disappointments and embarrassment, you can often solve the slump really just like that.
And tell me about one of your success stories with one of your clients who's an athlete.
Well, I think probably the most famous one is Lindsay Jacobellis, who's an Olympic snowboard racer. We helped her break through a bit of a mental block around the actual Olympics. So in 2018, while she didn't actually win, she dominated all the heats right up until the final and then just lost a few hundredths of a second. But she'd had an issue in the 2006 Olympics, and the 10 and 14 had been tough for her, where she didn't perform anywhere near to her normal medal winning ability. She was winning medals left and right outside of the Olympics. But she was highly competitive in the 18 Olympics.
Well, the silver medal, that's an incredible accomplishment. Now, more in recent times, I know that you do work with Olympic athletes, and since the Summer Olympics are now postponed, how can that impact the psyche of an athlete?
Well, think about it. At first, obviously, they have to be hugely disappointed. Well, they were probably seriously frustrated before the actual announcement, just not knowing what was going to happen. Then seriously disappointed and frustrated and worried, like, are they going to be able to keep up their training and are they going to be able to keep up their motivation? Typically what people will tell them is sort of some variation of think positive, but the way I'm not actually actively working with any Summer Olympic athletes now, although I do have one in the queue. It'll be about like letting them work through the frustration and the disappointment and then finding like the kernel of their motivation within that. Because these so-called negative emotions that no one wants to acknowledge or feel, they actually always have like a piece of information or a piece of motivation if we treat them like information and we accept them and understand and are gentle with ourselves.
And now with the impact of COVID-19 on the sports world, how could your expertise be utilized to help an athlete get through this stressful time?
Well, I do think, the brain research shows that we unconsciously predict everything that's going to happen. And we deliver those like unconscious predictions through our body, through physical feelings, but we're not taught to understand those physical feelings. So that's why with helping an athlete just tolerate their frustration and disappointment now and allow themselves to feel it and talk through it will actually ironically give them more commitment and motivation if they allow themselves to go through that emotional process, which is really different than the way most performance coaches and kind of mental skills advisors work. The tendency is to try to get the person thinking positive right away. And that usually has a tendency to short circuit or not be as powerful as it could be over time if you work with the so-called negative emotions.
And now, since part of your clientele are, of course, professional athletes as well as Wall Street hedge fund managers, how has your job been impacted by COVID-19?
Well, I mean, luckily, our small boutique consulting company, so far so good. We're lucky to have clients who are in good positions. Our clients, I mean, the hedge fund guys, the markets have been crazy volatile, been down by 30%. Mostly what I've done is try to keep people centered in what they believe and what they're confident about. And that's helped our clients navigate better. I have had some old clients show back up and saying, I thought I didn't need help anymore. I think I could use some help. I had one of those today. I've been able to reach out to people too that I've maybe, coached in years past and hadn't heard from. Just check in and see how they're doing in this time where we're all basically hanging out at home more time.
So essentially your job is you help clients reach their full potential by changing their thought process and how they approach high pressure situations. What's that like, knowing that you have the ability to help someone become the best version of themselves in their field?
Well, I mean, it's super gratifying to help someone. And I swear every time that someone tells me I've helped them, even if it's like a retail trader on Twitter who says they read my book and it helped them, I mean, it's just so gratifying. It feels really good. It can also be very frustrating because most of the performance coaching advice, I think, is based on an old model of the brain and an old model of like how we stay motivated. So I have to, listen to people talk or see articles that I think are not that helpful, and that drives me ever so slightly crazy, I will admit.
Now, I know you primarily deal with professional athletes, Olympics and everything, but if a college sports team was interested in your services, what's the best way to get in touch with your company, the Rethink Group?
Yeah, so I'd say reach out to us on the Contact Us page. It's the rethinkgroup.net. My partner, Bill Long, who lived in Dallas for 14 years, talks with everyone who calls in and to see if there's a match, whether it's me or one of our other coaches or whether it's a workshop. We have recently built a new website, so hopefully it's a little bit more informative. But just reach out, or I'm on Twitter, and I'm fairly active. I got a private message on Twitter from a Major League Baseball player recently. So we're responsive.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, hey, Denise, we really appreciate your time here on Fox 44, and make sure to stay safe in New York City.
Thank you, Mandy. Appreciate it. Take care.
Take care.